Welcome today to Global Summit special presentation. I'm your host, Dr. Alan Chong, the chiropractic chair for Global Summit's Hexalateral Commission, which is basically doctors uniting. Doctors of all genres, well, most genres anyways. We've got dentists, we've got medicine, we've got pharmacy, we've got optometry, of course, chiropractic and philosophy, all coming together. Today, we have a special guest, Dr. Mark Sanna. But before I introduce him, I want to show you a little bit about what Global Summits is all about. Well, just a brief, and then, of course, just to summarize, then we will introduce Dr. Sanna. Dr. Sanna's topic today is going to be how to create a thriving practice. Now, who doesn't want a thriving practice? So you're in for a special treat today. And when I go over his credentials and we start chatting, you'll see where Dr. Sanna, coach and principal to over thousands and thousands of coaching clients over the years, you can see he's an esteemed expert for today's conversation. So let me just screen share here, and let's, so welcome. This webinar is how to create a thriving practice. So Global Summits is really about doctors uniting, and chiropractic is one of the professions as doctors that combining with the other professions. I need to acknowledge Dr. Kinar Shah for his, foresight in creating Global Summits Institute, and for really bringing doctors around the world together. So if you're watching this from around the world and wherever you are, you want to take note and see what this is all about. And uniting doctors to be more powerful within, to create a better, more fair and client service profession in whatever profession you're in. So with Global Summits Institute, we want you to check out a call for nominations that's going on right now in whatever profession you're in. This Podnar is a special one because it marks the first chiropractic Podnar that's being launched in the series of over 100 Podnars throughout the year. And by the way, you can get CE credits by paying attention to a link that'll be shared in comments on the Facebook Live. So go to top100doc.com, and then you can check out the nomination process. You can contact either me or Dr. Sanna with our contact information, and that you can ask us more information about chiropractic nominations. And then a really exciting program that's up and coming that we really want you to be aware of is the Doctor of Healthcare Business degree that is just launching as a part of Global Summits. And that is a really special program for those, especially younger doctors or doctors that really want to have business know-how in a very structured but flexible program where you can learn this all online from wherever you are in the world. And then there's a couple of the links. Of course, if you're on this Facebook Live, then you obviously know this is Global Summits. But if you're not, if you're seeing this somewhere else, then you know to go to the Facebook page global.summits, and then of course in that you'll be able to find the information for top100docs.com, the nomination. So those are the two links there. Now, a little bit about me as your host. I have to give credit to Dr. Emily Letran too, who may or may not be watching this right here. We're all busy people, busy doctors, but I'm a practicing chiropractor for over 30 years. And just not quite a year ago, that she invited me to join the Global Summits community. And really then Dr. Kinar Shah invited me to chair and appointed me to the chair of the chiropractic division. And what does that mean? It means that I'm taking the responsibility to lead chiropractors to become more influential, and you can do that through the nomination process in top 100 doctors. So I am known as the spine doctor here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I own 3 clinics and am the director of 3 clinics. Calgary Spinal Decompression Center is where I do the spine doctor stuff, basically as a spine expert. And we do a number of different therapies. Spinal decompression is one of them. And so I'm also a practice coach part-time, highprofitspractice.com. So that QR code will bring you to a page on my highprofitspractice.com, which is my podcast. And that's what, if anything, I invite you to join and listen and subscribe to that podcast. It's for doctors of all sorts. And that is just to inspire and to help you become better at practice. And I'm proud to say that our guest today was a guest on my show for a 2-part series. I think it was episode 18 and 19 or so, a little while back, but you can certainly look him up on Practice Mastery, wherever you get your podcasts, or use this QR code and pick up the exact website where you can actually get the podcast and more information about it. And of course, one of the things I love to do, I'm forever an entrepreneur, so I'm always looking to do different things. But without further ado, I want to introduce you to our guest speaker today, Dr. Mark Sanna. Now, if you haven't heard of Dr. Mark Sanna, he's more known in the chiropractic world because he is a premier chiropractor, but he's no longer practicing because he is the CEO of Breakthrough Coaching. And I'm going to let him tell you more about Breakthrough Coaching and one of the reasons why every practitioner, every doc should consider some type of coaching in what they do to create a thriving practice. Now, who wouldn't want a thriving practice? He's a practice coach for thousands of doctors worldwide, not just chiropractors. And but he's definitely a chiropractic leader and influencer. He's an international speaker, and he's an expert in how to be passionate and profitable. And so now I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Mark Sanna. Welcome to the Podinar today.
Thank you, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's excited to be here on the inaugural chiropractic Podinar. That's
absolutely
a little bit of history.
It is. We're making history here. So I know you're going to go through a PowerPoint presentation, but Dr. Mark, what's the theme of today's show, and what will people get from today's Podinar?
Well, as healthcare providers, we're all in a shift, and that shift is going from third-party payment responsibility to now having patients pay for the services that we deliver, and that's a different mindset. It puts us in a different role. It actually puts us in a leadership role in terms of being in that third party, struggling with paperwork and having your bills cut and all of that kind of stuff. That's just surviving, quite frankly. Exactly. And a lot of docs have been through survival, and survival is not so much fun. It kind of gets you to the end of the day and you go like, all right, that one's down, another one to come. And so we're going to focus today on thriving. And I know you're up in the north, that probably you're having springtime up there, and the plants are starting to come back, and the green on the trees and the beautiful flowers. I had a treat to be out in Santa Barbara, California yesterday, and saw all of the gorgeous, lush growth and trees and flowers out there. And I said, man, this is what it's all about. And so I want us to feel in our practice like that feeling of spring, like there's a revitalization, that I love going into the practice. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. And guess what? That passion is contagious. Your patients get it, people get it, your community gets it, and the universe gets it too. And I think the universe rewards passion with profitability when done correctly. And so, thriving to me is finding out what it is that you love to do the most, making sure that you're doing it in the most effective way and serving patients from your heart, and also making a profit, making a very good living from it.
Right. Well, we look forward to what you have to deliver today with all your experience. And so I know, just for viewers, we're going to have a PowerPoint presentation where Dr. Mark Sanna is going to be presenting a number of slides, and then we're going to have a brief interlude, and you'll have a chance to pick up his free ebook. So stay on long enough to pick up his free ebook and how to contact Dr. Sanna. And then we are going to continue with PowerPoint, his PowerPoint, and then we're going to have some question and answer, which is really the highlight of a lot of people's presentations. So hang on to the end. But right now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sanna to present his topic on how to create a thriving practice, regardless of which type of doctor you are. You'll want to pay attention to what Mark has to say.
Thanks so much, Alan. And yes, I'm a chiropractor. I have done my studies in rehabilitation, and I'm a fellow of the International College of Chiropractic. And those are things that I'm proud about because I'm a second generation chiropractor, Alan. As you may be aware, I may have shared with your audience on your webinar, podcast, I should say.
Right, podcast, yes.
Podcast. That this is my dad's 58th year of chiropractic practice. And
wow.
Yes, we're in 126 years of chiropractic existing as a profession. So that means he's been a chiropractor for about a half the time that chiropractic has existed. And so much of the legacy that I have in chiropractic comes from my dad. And a shout out to my dad, Julius Sanna. Love you a lot, Dad. And thank you for all you've done for me and for our profession as well. So let's hit it. If we're going to take a deep dive into creating a thriving practice, there are a few things that are really important. And one of them is creating a world-class. I mean, world-class. I love that we're on a global stage right now, platform right now, because these are principles that it doesn't matter if you're in Paris, France, or Paris, Texas. It's the same principles, and it's creating a memorable experience for that patient when they come into the office. You know, I like to say to folks, think about the last time you walked through the doors of a 5-star hotel or 5-star restaurant. You instantly feel it. It smells differently. The sounds are different. How people act toward each other are absolutely different. You know, it's one of the great stories that are told about the beautiful Ritz-Carlton Hotel back when folks still used carriages to get around. This man pulled his carriage up to the Ritz-Carlton and started ordering the staff around. And the head doorman came over to him and said, "Sir, I want you to know that type of behavior isn't welcome in our hotel, and neither are you." He said, "Because at the Ritz-Carlton, we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen." And that's one of the most beautiful concepts, to think that we've elevated our practice team members, our staff members, to be ladies and gentlemen, and we treat each other with respect, and we treat each other in a way that that makes us feel great about doing what we do and being where we are. It's a privilege to be able to serve people, and it's an extra privilege to be able to serve them through healthcare. It is not something that I think we should take for granted at any one particular time. My feeling is that as a chiropractor, when someone gives me the opportunity to give them a chiropractic spinal adjustment, it's a huge honor that I take very, very seriously. But you know what? When people come to a chiropractic practice, uh, they're not going to be wowed by getting great results. And when they come to your practice, whatever that is, be it a dental practice, be it a OBGYN or GI or endocrinologist, they don't come there for the results. They may initially come there because they think they can get results, but they're not going to stay, and they're not going to become lifetime patients versus one-time patients um, just because of results. In fact, they expect results, right? The results are what they're paying you for. What wows them, what creates that world-class experience is over and above that. And it's the memorable experience, the memorable moments that you create for them. There's a scale of service on a scale of 1 to 5. And, if you ask most healthcare providers, how am I doing? They'll say, well, we're okay. We're pretty good. Well, guess what? Good isn't good enough anymore. On a scale of good, that's just kind of average. It's okay. We want to get up to 4 stars. We have to not only meet the patient's expectations, we actually have to exceed those expectations, right? But there's a level above that, and that's the 5-star level of service. And that's a delight. That's being remarkable. It's creating a wow for the patient. And an interesting thing is when you do that, when you create that wow for the patient, they're going to tell about on the average 9 different people. And you may think, well, that's great. That's getting the word out there. I'm getting my good reviews on Google. However, if you don't get that 5-star, and in fact, they leave for some reason dissatisfied or unhappy, they're going to tell 20 other people. And guess what? With the online reviews and social media, that's going to trickle out into your community. And there's nothing more important than your good name and your good reputation. And when that word gets out there that, hey, guess what? That's not the place to go. You're going to be fighting an uphill battle. So let's shoot for wow, right? Let's shoot for the extraordinary. And what's the key? Well, the key to wow is that you can't wow them once. You have to wow them each and every time. We're now seeing live events coming back, and the theater coming back again. And in New York, they have the beautiful Broadway theater, the West End in London, beautiful theater there. And guess what? Those folks do not 7 shows a day. They may do 7 shows a day plus 2 or 3 matinees. They're doing the same show every single time. It's the same lines each and every time. They're hitting the same spots on the stage each and every time. But guess what? For them, it may be the 50, 60, 80th, 100th time that they've done that show. But for the audience, it's their very first time. And so being able to have an attitude where each and every day, we're going to give our very, very best because, well, it may be patient number 35 in a day for us, but guess what? That's that patient's only visit during the day. And we want to make coming in and receiving your treatment a treat, right? Ask yourself, is your treatment a treat? Am I creating memorable experiences each and every time? And that's something that takes action. It's something that actually takes moving in a forward direction. I think it's really easy to get sucked down into survival versus thriving in a practice. There are so many things that can distract us during the day. We're dealing with human beings, some of them maybe not at their very best. People are anxious, they may be in discomfort, they have some fear and trepidation. So think about yourself. When you're experiencing those emotions, you're probably not at your best either, right? And so having to understand that we have to be the generator of energy. We have to be the generator of enthusiasm in that practice each and every day. And I think this is one of the benefits we spoke about with Dr. Shah before we came on live about the value of this organization of really being doctors for doctors, doctors uniting together means that we collaborate in a way that we can support each other, that we have a community here, that we look out for each other. It's an interesting path that we take as physicians, and it's a long path. It's many, many years of formal education, and then beyond that, some years of specialization, and then finally you have the opportunity to get into a practice of your own. And so the pressures that we feel each and every day can sometimes be overwhelming if we only stay restricted within the four walls of our practice. And getting out and getting fresh ideas to bring back into that practice, it's like watering the plants. It's what allows it that practice to thrive, that continuous thirst for learning, for growth and development and expansion, right? And if we're not growing, we're shrinking. And so it's key for us not only to invest in ourselves, invest in our own emotional health and well-being, but also to make sure that we're there for our staff and our patients as well. Thriving practice is only going to be as good as its people. And hiring, finding, cultivating, creating, and encouraging longevity in career. These are some of the most challenging components about being in practice. I've heard doctors say, practice would be great if I didn't have to deal with any people, right? And so the fact is, without the people, we don't have the practice. And so how do we build that world-class team? Well, I say it starts with a clear understanding of what our core values are. And some of us may have sat down and done the legwork, done the homework on thinking about what our personal core values are, but maybe not have sat down and done the homework in terms of what are the core values of my practice? What are the values that are non-negotiable in terms of not only aspirational, but non-negotiable in terms of the people who work for me? And so when I know my core values, I can begin to hire based on core values. I've got a set of 4 core values up on the screen in my graphic: caring, committed, creative, and cool. Yeah, those are the kind of people that I want to have on my team. They're the vibrant people that I want to have surrounding me, right? Super, super important that when I'm interviewing for somebody, often we put a job posting up there and it talks about the whole skill set and what computer software they may need to know, or what are the hours and what's the salary. Well, I need to know that they're in alignment with my core values right in the interview process. I'm going to ask them to tell me stories about where they've been caring in their past and committed, where they've been creative in their past job positions. tell me what's cool for them. How do they, how does cool show up for them? And what would they think about working in a place where cool is important, right? Cool doesn't often come up in healthcare. And when you've got that cool factor, it really is a differentiating factor. It's a really unique selling proposition, and people talk about that. They don't often say, "Wow, what a cool experience I had at my doc's office," huh? You see, you can train skills, but you can't train core values, right? They're baked in. And so the more work that you can do in the screening process before somebody comes on the team to make sure that they're in alignment with those core values, the better. So I like to tell my docs, hire slow and fire fast. You know, as healthcare providers, we think we can, well, maybe we hope we can fix everyone. That's kind of baked into our DNA, right? Most of us, if asked why we became healthcare providers, well, it's because we wanted to help people for sure. And so oftentimes we'll put up with behaviors that are less than 10 out of 10 behaviors, right? On a scale of A, B, and C, A being great, C being not so great, we end up surrounding ourselves with some B players, an occasional A player, and there's some C's on the team that are just pulling everybody down. So not only in the hiring process is it important, but it's also really key that you do something called a quarterly conversation. Now, y'all are probably aware of an annual review, and most managers and practice owners typically dodge them because they think that it has to mean there's a change in pay or benefits, right? And think about it now. When's the last time you had a sit down, a quarterly, an annual review with your staff? And you may be surprised, for some of you listening, it may have been some years that you've done that. So I like to do something a lot easier, and I call it a quarterly conversation. And it's exactly that. It's a little sit down. We sit down together about 15 minutes, and I actually have the staff grade themselves independently of me on the core values. They know they're right up on the screen, the 4 core values. A is I do it all the time. B, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And C is most of the time I don't express that core value in the workplace. I'll do it, they'll do it, or their manager will do it, and they'll sit down together and we'll first of all check for an alignment. Are they perceiving themselves the same way that their manager or I'm perceiving them? If not, there's a discrepancy that we have to fill. And then secondarily, we'll go ahead and we'll do a skill set check. Are they hitting their targets, their goals 80% of the time? Are they getting their action steps done that they're supposed to get done each and every week? Are they getting that done at least 90% of the time, right? Do they have all the information that they need? Is there anything that I need to know? How am I doing as their manager, right? Do they feel that they're in the right role? And do they have all the tools that they need? And we sit down, we have that conversation. And if there's any shortfalls, shortcomings there, we'll create a performance improvement plan, a PIP, performance improvement plan. And that PIP is a 30, 60, or 90-day plan, depending upon what it is that we're working on. We're actually going to write that down, put it into the employees folder file, and hang on to that, because in whatever that time frame is that we're going to do our next sit down, at least at 90 days, we're going to know that we have a way to continuously grow the skills, grow the alignment of our employees. Listen, if you ask most employees who are working in a healthcare situation, they're there not just for the money. You know, if they were wanted the big money, they'd go work for in the hospital situation. But if they want to be in an independent private practice, sometimes we can't meet the benefits or even the pay scale that the hospital can. And so for that reason, there are other things that are really important, and growing within their job, growing as a person is one of the top components that employees give us feedback in, that keeps them in their job. So we want to make sure that we are constantly growing our employees. So what do I think a 5-star team is that helps our practice grow and thrive? Well, first of all, they enjoy helping people, right? People are not an interruption in their day. The people are their day, and they're very in tune. They're empathetic. They're in tune with how people are feeling. Not only the patients, their other team members, and the docs. I've had staff members read my body language and say, "Hey, doc, just one moment, hit the reset button before you go in and see that next patient." So they don't know what's going on in my mind, but they do know I got to reset before I get into that next person, right? They practice teamwork to help fellow employees. They're flexible. They're not rigid in terms of a job description. If there's something that needs to be done, yes, it's all hands on deck. Yes, we're all here together. They're detail oriented, right? And when I say God is in the details, Mies van der Rohe, right? God is in the detail. Well, the details are, if somebody's sitting there in the reception area, we're making sure that they're not waiting longer than they need to wait, right? Details are in checking our tone of voice before we answer the telephone. People can hear your smile over the telephone. And if you're being interrupted by that phone because you were doing something on the computer or somebody else had your attention, that patient is going to feel that as well. They've got a positive attitude, and a positive attitude is absolutely contagious, right? People want to be around people who are upbeat and pleasant and happy. They have patience not only with others, but with themselves when things don't go right. Listen, stuff happens during every day. It's typically not the day where something doesn't get lost or missed or something goes a little sideways. Guess what? It's okay. Take a breath. We're going to be just fine. And then finally, and I think really most importantly, is they love the joy of working hard. I'm often asked, Mark, you manage so many practices, or your company manages so many practices. You probably know a little bit about success. And what do you think is the factor? What's the thing that separates the guys who are crushing it from those who are just kind of getting by? And I'll tell you what it is. It's work ethic. They're willing to work just that little more, just that extra step to make sure that things are getting done and that things are getting done right. Those folks, they're the first one in the office in the beginning of the day, the last one to leave at night. They have a skip in their step. They're happy about what they do, and they're proud to tell other people about it. And that feeds a sense of certainty. When you're getting that feedback that you're taking great action, you're producing really strong results, people are telling other people, it reinforces your certainty that you're on the right path, you're doing the right stuff, and you want to keep doing more of it. So to build a thriving practice, number one, choose your dream team. And I really mean it, your dream team. We do an exercise with our clients called a mission to Mars. And I tell them, I'm going to put you on a spacecraft and you're going to be able to take 4 other people with you. And we're going to launch you up to Mars, and you're going to build your practice on Mars. And you get to pick 4 people to go with you. So I want you to think of who would be the ideal people. What are their ideal characteristics? and qualities that they would have that are going to help you build that ideal practice. And we tell them at the end of that exercise, and it's a great way to determine what your core values are, is we tell them you don't have to go all the way to Mars to build your ideal practice. You can do it right here on Earth. So choose that dream team wisely. Fill it up with people who are attracted like a magnetic energy. People want to be with them. People who work together towards a common goal, that's attracting patients, being remarkable, and delivering world-class experience. People who know that we're stronger together. One of my favorite quotations is, there's not one of us that's as smart as all of us together. That's the mastermind principle, right? When two minds come together, said Napoleon Hill, a third mind develops that is capable of more than either of those two minds could accomplish individually. So knowing that in your practice with the right team, that the ideas bubble up from the bottom up to the top. Think of a glass of champagne, little baby bubbles start at the bottom of the glass and they go all the way up to the top. And that's the best way to manage your team, letting them know that you're open to idea flow from the bottom up. A top-down led practice or business is a challenge to run. It's you, my way, or the highway. People are cogs in the machine. They're not part of something bigger than themselves, with a vision bigger than just earning a paycheck, right? Not one of us is as smart as all of us together. We lift each other up. And that principle, understanding that you have a tremendous resource right within the walls of your practice. And I don't care if you have 2 or 30 or 300 employees, that principle is sound at each and every level of practice. So you want to protect your team. They're your greatest asset. They're your gold. They're your diamonds. So celebrate them. Gosh, remember their birthdays. Remember their anniversaries. I have a spreadsheet of special moments, right? Graduations coming up, births that come up, right? How about when you acknowledge and celebrate a 10th anniversary at work, or a 10th anniversary in marriage with one of your team members? That's excellent. I say celebrate achievements, right? We're really big on KPIs, or key performance indicators, metrics, statistics, whatever you want to call them in breakthrough coaching. And so when you do set a record, when you do set a milestone, boy, celebrate that, share that with the team. Make sure that people know that you appreciate the extra effort that it took to get there, because I can tell you what, if you let those special moments go without being celebrated, it's going to decrease the likelihood that you're going to hit those milestones again in the future. And then finally, guess what? You got to protect yourself a little bit too. You got to recharge your own batteries. That means taking scheduled downtime away from the practice, where you can make sure that your mindset is in the right direction. Make sure that your energy is there. It's impossible for you to be a magnet to other people if you've run out of juice yourself, right? So make sure that you have regularly scheduled long weekends, and then a nice break whenever you can, at least on a quarterly basis, to keep your energy flowing, the juices of creativity going in yourself. And you'll find that being in practice is fun. It's an enjoyable thing to do. So second step is creating a thriving practice is consistency. Up on the left-hand side of the screen, you see the recipe book there, right? And I can remember as a kid, my mom made tremendous chocolate chip cookies, still does, by the way. And she got the recipe from my great grandmother, who actually didn't write down any recipes. So my mom and my aunt Shirley went into great grandma's kitchen, and great grandma would put something into the bowl, mixing bowl. They take it out, measure it, and write it down. And they did that with all of the ingredients. And so I actually have my great grandma's chocolate chip cookie recipe, and I can make a pretty darn good facsimile of great grandma's chocolate chip cookies because of that. So I call that the chocolate chip cookie system. It's the same thing. In order for us to be consistent, you got to write it down. You have to prepare. Success doesn't happen by an accident. Success happens because it's a system, and we've learned the system. So we want to document our systems. We want to make sure that we learn our scripts, the dialogues that we use on a daily basis. We don't want to invent those on the spot. We want to be sure that it's not the first time that we've heard that objection, or the first time that we've been in this particular situation in practice, that we know how to anticipate what the patient's questions might be, so that we have the proper answers, so that we can still stay focused on the patients. Follow through, follow up. Super important, not dropping the ball. Rinse, wash, and repeat, right? And that consistent action on a daily basis allows you to actually scale the practice without stress, right? Scaling a practice so that it's still fun without being stressed is absolutely key. Preparation leads to consistency. You can't show up, you got to do the work. Can't just show up in your practice and say, okay, baby, let's do this. I like to say that it's important for you to set aside, I know you have patient care hours, but to set aside practice building hours. And what I mean by practice building hours is that you set aside what would be an equivalent of 10% of your patient care hours that you're going to devote to actually working on your practice instead of just in your practice, because most healthcare practitioners are just too darn busy working in the practice to actually work on the practice. And that means training and drilling and role playing with our team, right? Making sure that we have our processes as efficient as they can possibly be. That doesn't happen by accident. We got to know what we're doing. We have to know the benefits of our care. And as I said, the benefits are not just the results of getting the patient out of the pain. That's what they expect. The true benefits of how do we impact that patient's life, their future life? How are they going to be able to live more vibrantly, sharper, with greater enthusiasm, right? And to do the things that they like to do, to fully actualize themselves, be self-actualized as a human being, their best self, by the care that we're delivering. That's why it's important. And our team needs to know how we impact the overall human being that we're dealing with in a holistic way, and also how to communicate it to patients and communicate it to the outside world. And we have to be really organized in practice. And I'm huge on checklists, and I love to use technology for managing our practices. Super, super key that you have systems in place and that you work your systems. You know, at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, it's where we started that 5-star service. They have a motto, and it's excellent customer service comes from an excellent team. And they practice that, they rehearse it, and they drill it every day. Not only is it important for you to have the best people, but you want to create an environment that is a memorable environment for your patients as well, and your practice team, and you too. You spend a lot of time in there too. You want to make sure it's someplace that has a beautiful design, Pay attention to the lighting, right? Have we got bright lights that are shining in patients dim, or do we have diffused lighting that make people feel comfortable? Color is super, super important. It's color that is going to communicate your branding. It's color that's going to also signal to the patient that they're in a safe, warm, loving environment, a healing environment. So I like to say, go outside, take a look at nature. Those are the colors to bring into your practice. Those are the colors that make people feel comfortable. I live in Miami, Florida. And for me, the colors that I love the most are the colors that I see when I look outside my window, the green of the palm trees and the flowers and plants and the blue of the water and the sky. Those are the colors that I love to surround myself with. Make sure you have elegant signage. I'm disappointed so much by a lot of the signage that I see out there for various professionals. Make sure that you've got an elegantly designed sign that understand that speaks to the world of who you are and what you are, right? The sign of the Ritz-Carlton looks the way that it does because it signals to the world that this is an elegant place to be. Make sure your flooring is pristine and beautiful, that you have lovely music that you enjoy, because that's going to keep your energies up during the day. And vary it up a little bit, mix it up. It's no reason now, with all of the different types of streaming services out there, that you can't have exactly the type of music that you'd like to have at any time. You know, smiles, I mentioned that you can hear a smile over the phone. Well, gosh, having a smiling face behind that front desk through every single employee in that practice is essential. And I put smells at the end here because it's often forgotten that your practice has a smell, and you do go nose blind. You can't smell your own smells after a while. So it's really important to have somebody else come through and do a little sniff test in that practice. And does it smell nice? Does it smell welcoming? Or do we need a refresh, right? Everything in your practice speaks to your branding, right? From your parking lot. Does that parking lot, my parking lot? Well, absolutely. Is parking a challenge in your practice? In my practice, parking was a big challenge. We had a valet. We actually hired a valet, and the valet would do wonderful things. He'd give out umbrellas in the rain. He'd park your car for you. So parking was a pleasure in our practice, right? Lighting and decor, we mentioned. Comfortable chairs, right? Have really lovely, lovely chairs and tables in your practice. Make sure things are spotlessly clean, especially your bathrooms. You may not think about it, but that bathroom, people judge you on that bathroom. If that bathroom is a mess, they're absolutely going to be thinking about, guess what? Maybe things behind the scenes here are not quite as technologically proficient or up to date modern as I thought they were. Make sure you have a 5-star restroom. Friendly and helpful staff, knowledgeable professionals is absolutely vital. I'll give you the example of a restaurant. Morton Steakhouse has it down pat, right? What makes your favorite restaurant, right? It might not be just the food or the price or the decor. It's that you're acknowledged. Not only are you acknowledged, but sometimes they remember your name and your favorites, what you like, where you like to sit. The best restaurants actually keep an electronic database of that information. They make you feel like you belong, right? Like it's part of your place. And you sense that they really care when you've got a great, attentive, not over attentive, but attentive waiter. They are there for you to create that experience for you. You know what to expect. You know your favorites. You know that it's your kind of place. I want patients to feel the same in your practice. You know what? I mentioned before, anticipating patients' questions before they asked them. Think about Disney World, right? How many hundreds of thousands of people do they process through Disney World each and every single year? And how many times is the same question asked and asked and asked? Well, Disney's actually published this, that the most commonly asked question at Disney World is, what time is the 3:00 parade? Now, you may be saying, Mark, it's kind of obvious that the 3:00 parade is at 3:00. Well, guess what? The right answer to that question, according to Disney, is, well, from where you're standing, the 3:00 parade will pass right by you at 3:15. My recommendation is that you stand on Main Street by the ice cream shop, because they keep the door open and the air conditioning drifts out. It'll keep you cool. And after the parade is over, you can hop in and get a nice ice cream cone. So there's no dumb question. They've answered the question. They've actually given you more information about where to stay cool, and they've increased their sales by selling you some ice cream as well. So follow the Disney rule. If you're going to create or sustain customer loyalty, you have to look at every situation through your patient's eyes. It's the patient's journey, not about your journey. It's about their journey. So here's the Disney philosophy. The guest might not always be right, but let's allow them to be wrong with dignity. So how do we improve our patient's experience? Well, the number one patient's complaint in doctor's offices, I got to wait. They make me wait. So do everything that you can to minimize your waiting times. Manage their expectations. Let people know, hey, it's your first visit. You're going to be here for about an hour. We're going to text you a link to your patient paperwork so that you can finish it up before you come into the office, so that we can get to see you right away. Right? Let them know, here's a link to our address so that you can find us without any difficulty. Demonstrate genuine interest. Be truly curious about people, right? Get to know them. Get to know what makes them tick. Greet patients by name. Every one of your team members should be able to greet your patients by name. And I know you may have 3 or 4 patients who look kind of the same. Maybe you're all called John Smith. There's nothing more important to any one of your patients than their name. Make sure you use it. Strike up the conversation. Don't let people sit there wondering and being unsure, or worse, anxious about what's going to happen or what's going to come next. Strike up the conversation. Hey, I see this is your first time into the doc's office. That's wonderful. You know, Doc's one of the best. I actually go to him for my care. Gee, it's so wonderful that he's going to be able to be with you today. Help patients with their paperwork. Number 2, big complaint in a doctor's office, too much paperwork. And finally, make patients feel important by acknowledging them, being with them. It's a key thing. You know, when you create these systems in your practice to make sure that we're creating that world-class experience and a thriving practice, it's all about documentation. You think about documentation in terms of healthcare, well, it's documentation in terms of training as well. And any organization, be it a healthcare practice or any business, the service is only as good as the systems that support it. So write them down, document them. Super if there's ever turnover in staff, you've got it written down. You can bring it right to the next person. Plan, train, and practice. And if you see the same mistake happen again and again, follow what the Ritz-Carlton says. If a mistake happens once, well, it could be the fault of an employee. If that same mistake happens twice, it's most likely the fault of the system. So find out what's not working and fix it. I like you to embrace the Kaizen principle. Kaizen is a culture of continuous improvement. And that's a strategy where employees at every single level work together to achieve regular incremental improvements to systems each and every day. 1% of improvement is 365% of improvement at the end of the day. That's a major turnaround, right? At the end of the year. So here's the Kaizen system: plan, do it, check on it, the results, and take action. Document that, and you can move your practice forward. We're going to talk a little bit about what you can do individually as a healthcare provider to attract patients, to be that magnetic, thriving practice. Be charismatic, be authentic, ethical, dynamic, positive, and most important, present. So charismatic, the Urban Dictionary, I love the Urban Dictionary. You can Google it. The Urban Dictionary definition of charismatic is filled with life, the perfect concoction of fun and joy and peace and wisdom all in one. You know, a charismatic patient will make you want to jump up and down and do a cartwheel and sing all at the same time. They see life in a positive way. Check your charisma factor when you're in the practice. Dynamic, be a go-getter. Get out there and make things happen. Public speaking, whether it's lectures or workshops or classes or podinars like this, spread the word. Ask for referrals. Patients aren't going to refer unless you ask. Ask for reviews. Reviews are so important right now. Ask for that 5-star review. Tell people what you do. How would you uniquely solve their problem? Super, super key. If you're a chiropractor, there's lots of chiropractors out there. What makes you special? And have a strong digital presence, right? Write your blogs, have a monthly newsletter. Use what we're doing right now, video. Video is the stickiest, most valuable tool that you can use to communicate to your patients. Use Facebook and Facebook Live on a regular basis, and know how to use social media to get your digital marketing and message out. Have a magnetic internet presence. You know, it's a lot easier for somebody to simply ask Mr. Google for information than ask the person sitting right next to them. So, do you have an inviting way for your patients to take action? I hope that you have chat on the home screen of your website. I hope you have click through to call on your website. Scheduling an appointment right now, being able to auto schedule appointments is one of the most valuable things that patients appreciate in terms of the presence online of their healthcare providers. Make sure you got a mobile site, because people are Googling you, but guess what? They're Googling you on their smartphone. Know where you rank in Google, and how do you get up high in Google? Lots of reviews. Have lots of reviews, more than anybody else there. Create an authentic connection. You know, patients are going to come to you not only because of what you do, but because of who you are as a human being. You know, the occasional patient will come in after seeing your ad on Google or flyer or ad in print. But what's going to inspire them to be a lifetime patient instead of a one-time patient is the connection that they feel with you and your practice. The law of attraction says that you attract into your life whatever you think about. You're magnetic. So be positive. We've spoken about that. It's contagious. Your attitude is catching. We want to make sure it's worth catching. You know, a magnet has 2 poles. One pole pulls things toward it, another pole pushes things away. You know, you've probably met somebody that you instantly didn't like or you instantly fell in love with. Make sure you're doing a pole check. You'll know that if you've ever experienced a patient's push of their negative pole right away. And finally, be ethical. Phil Brooks said, character may be manifested in great moments, but it's made in small ones. Make sure when you make your recommendations to patients, you're recommending the care that they truly need, not based on care that you think they can afford or what insurance will cover. Make sure that you tell the patients the truth, and you give them the same recommendation that you'd make to your spouse, your mother, or your child, making sure that you're ethical and be present. The most important person in the world is that person who's right in front of you right now. And so remind yourself, be here now. Alan, I see you hopped on a little bit there for me. Thanks for coming in. Alan, I
You
want to
bet.
just tell folks a little bit about Breakthrough Coaching and how we became the most trusted source for patient and practice management. And up on the screen, Alan, is a Q code. So this would be a great time to
QR code. Make sure you
QR
grab
code.
this free offer from Mark, which is an ebook. Tell us a little bit about that for viewers.
So this is an ebook and some resources that are designed to help increase a practice's profitability. You know, each and every one of us, Alan, can benefit from coaching or mentorship. I like to say that we can all be successful. It's inside each and every one of us. It's the speed of success that having a mentor or a coach helps improve. You get there. You make less mistakes. It actually costs you a whole lot less having a coach than making those mistakes on your own. And so we've designed some resources about what makes a great coach, what makes a great mentor, and how to benefit from that. And folks can get this. We'll put it back up a little bit later in the presentation for those folks who are listening.
Yep. We are a little short on time there, Mark. So just hope you got that QR code, and we'll post it up at the end as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Here's our team. We've got a great team. Each one of our coaches has actually been a member of the program. So they don't coach out of a cookbook. They coach out of the real world. Our system is based upon 5 key components. We call it the STEER system: strategy, team, engagement, execution, and results. We begin by helping you determine what your BHAG is. That's your big, hairy, audacious goal. What would you do if you had no constraints? We'll do the core values exercise with you. Lock that down, your mission statement. We'll help you paint a vivid vision, 3-year vision, and then develop an annual plan for what you want to devote your life to this year to accomplishing. We'll chunk that down into quarterly targets and monthly issues. And then finally, we'll determine what action steps do you and your practice teammates need to take each and every week to accomplish those goals. We do it through weekly online coaching sessions. It builds in that accountability loop. You can see your coach personally. We have tremendous resources, a learning management system that literally has everything that you need to do to be successful in practice, available to you on demand 24/7. Our audio-visual training modules are recorded training modules, after which you take a quick self-test. And this is really key if you're training a staff in coding or compliance or any of the other issues that might be important. And we've actually videoed the key steps in practice, those key moments of truth, whether they're patient care procedures, exercises, trigger point injections, stretching, new patient consult, financial report of findings, all have excellent, excellent training. I mentioned we're big on stats. And if you want to be a thriving practice, Alan, what gets measured, gets managed, improves. And each month we'll collect your key stats and send you out a graph analysis, benchmark against all of the other breakthrough coaching practices. And it helps us to determine what your top practice priorities are. On a quarterly basis, we come together as a community. We do virtual and in-person member seminars, and our goal is to have you bring your entire team to those seminars. Our specialty is multidisciplinary practice, and that's why I'm so pleased that this Podinar is a collaboration of all different types of healthcare providers. I've been working with medical doctors, nurse practitioners, DOs, PAs, massage therapists, PTs for over 30 years now. And our goal is to help folks put together a collaborative practice in the most legal and efficient way. You know, in closing, I'd like to say it's all about attitude. People can hear your words, but they remember what, not what you said, but how you said it, how you made them feel. People hear your words, but they feel your attitude, said John Maxwell. So, Alan, I'm going to pop that QR code back up there for you. And maybe we might have some questions.
Exactly. So make sure you pick up, just scan this QR code or take a picture of it and go to it afterwards, or just go to it right away and take advantage of Dr. Sanna's ebook on practice resources. And I believe this one is on profitability and other things. We do have a question, and we have several questions, but the one that I want to highlight is, what do you look for in a team leader? Now, you alluded to that, but what would you say are the top three things that you would, in hiring, with coaching all your thousands of clients over the years, what are the key features to a great team leader in your clinic, in the practice?
So I look for somebody who's organized. You can only organize others to the degree that you yourself are organized, right? I always say that you want to make sure that you're going to somebody who's already accomplished what it is that you hope to accomplish. I also want somebody who's a really good listener, right? Just barking orders or giving directions is only going to get you so far. You really have to be able to listen to what motivates people. And a great leader can adapt their own leadership style to make sure that they're bringing out the very, very best in the person that they're managing. And that's why I'm really a big proponent of personality testing. I like the DISC, personality profile testing, so that I know how to best adapt my leadership style to get the best from the team mates that I'm working with.
Right. Awesome. So you covered a whole ton of material, but again, of your pool of many coaching clients, and with your practice coaches, what would you say are the either one or two challenges that, if practices would only fix those things, they would be thriving?
Well, number one is you can delegate just about everything. You can't delegate the money. And what I mean by that is, truly, on a monthly basis, you need to run that accounts receivable. You need to really look at what's 30, 60, 90, 120 days, hopefully not much. And that that if you're getting out there, that you've got something that's broken. I like to say that, you could be the best doctor on the planet, but if you fumble the finances, they flee. So don't ruin a good patient by not making sure that you're taking care of the finances with the patient in an appropriate way. So number one, I would say take a look at that. Number two is, I would say, really take a look at your practice team. Make sure that the folks that you've got on that team are the folks who are all the A players. And if you've got somebody who's a B, coach them up to the A. But if you've got somebody who's down at a C, figure out how soon you can exit them from the team. I like to say, how soon can you invite them to be successful elsewhere?
Elsewhere.
Because it's not happening on your dime.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Great words. We're just about going to wrap up here. If you were to give, our viewers, listeners, one piece of advice, what would you say to focus on in the next, well, whether it be to hire a coach, certainly, to focus on over the next year to create a thriving practice? If they know, usually as a practice owner, I know my practice is either thriving or it's not thriving.
To see your practice through your patient's eyes and to make sure that you're solving problems that they actually have. Lots of doctors add service lines or products to their practice because they buddy told them about it, or they went to a seminar, went to a trade show, and pretty soon you have a whole conglomeration of stuff, some of which is profitable, some of it which might not be profitable at all. Some of it may be answering the problems that your patients have, and some might not be. So I would say in this year, be absolutely spot on with making sure that the services that you deliver are actually generating a profit for that practice, and be ruthless with cutting them off away from the stock of the tree, if in fact they're not.
Right. So as you summarize, to summarize, accounts receivable, super important. As the manager and the director, you need to be right on top of that. And ours, in Canada here, we're mostly a cash practice. We do have some very cool, innovative ways to build direct third parties and at no fee to us. So those are certainly innovative platforms that we use here in Alberta, Canada. And then, the shift away from insurance dependency has already happened in our jurisdiction. But in a sense, if all insurance companies were to say, we're going to stop your billing right now, accounts receivable is extremely important either way, whether it be insurance or private. Correct?
For sure.
Right. I'm just going to wrap up, summarize by screen sharing here the couple contexts. So Dr. Sanna, do you have that slide still up there for the QR code? And you want to pull that up? I am going to pull up the QR code. So pick up the ebook, free ebook, and you can get in contact with Dr. Sanna that way. That's the easiest. And now I am going to, if you want to stop sharing there, I am going to try to share here and go to slideshow, start from the beginning. We're obviously going to wrap through this. Oop. Those are the couple links. Consider looking at the nominations to contact Dr. Sanna or I or anybody on Global Summits to look at the nomination process for you as an influencer and to get nominated, especially chiropractic being a new vertical, if you will. We want you to consider, if you're doing some great things in chiropractic, look at that link for nominations. And the other thing I want to invite you to, of course, is to, let's scroll through, to come to listen to Practice Mastery Podcast. And there's the QR code there. You can just take a picture of that or scan that right away and get to the one page. It's on my High Profits Practice, highprofitspractice.com/podcast. So you will be redirected, but practicemasterypodcast.com will also get you there. So that's it for our Pod and Air today. That is it for our Pod and Air today. Thank you very much, Dr. Mark Sanna. And, we want you to share this stuff. Doctors United is what we're talking about. The professions of chiropractic, medicine, pharmacy, optometry, dentistry, PhD covers most of them. But if you're a doctor out there, then consider not only following, but find out more about Global Summits and the nomination process. There's a means to contact Global Summits, and that's what we want you to do. So that's it for our Pod and Hour today. Thank you again, Dr. Mark Sanna, Breakthrough Coaching. We'll see you next time.